Page 3 is a really good practice for your IA because there are pretty open problems here. Let's look first at number 5. They're not giving you the frequency table here. They're giving you the data. So it says 50 people were asked how often they traveled by train each month, and these are the results. They give you a bunch of different numbers, one from each person. Obviously, there's 50 pieces of data because it's 50 people. Organize this information in a grouped frequency table. Grouped frequency table means that we're going to have intervals, ranges of numbers, like buckets that we're going to put these numbers into. So it's not going to be like, we're not going to number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. We're going to put them in groups like 1 to 5 or 6 to 10, things like that. And the groups are going to be the same size. How do we figure out a good size for the group? Well, let's see. What if we found the smallest value, for example, I think 2 might be the smallest value, and find the largest value, which may be 80? Do you see any that are bigger than 80? Looks like 80 might be the biggest. Let's assume that we got numbers from about 1 to 80 or 1 to 100, okay? If we have numbers from 1 to 100, maybe we could divide those into tens. That would be kind of a convenient unit to divide it in, right? Let's see if our graph paper has, yeah, our graph paper is big enough for 10, dividing by tens. So we're going to divide by tens. So like, for example, the first one we're going to put 1 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 10. The next one's going to be 11 through 20. Next one's going to be 21 to 30, etc. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start figuring out how many of these go into each box. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark which ones go in the bucket 1 through 10. So that would be this, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 8. So I'm going to put 8 here. I'm going to put it in blue since I marked those blue. Then I'm going to see which ones go into 11 through 20. So let's see. Oh, I forgot about 10. Look at that. 10. Oops. 10. There's one more there. Are there any other 10s? No. So I need to change my 8 to a 9. Okay. Oh my God. 9. Too big. Okay. And then now we're going to look for the numbers from 11 through 20. We're gonna color those yellow. 11 through 20. So we got 16, 14, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9. I'm going to write that in yellow. 9. And then so on. So you keep going through and doing that until you get finally to 100. So I'm going to stop the recording for a second, and I'm going to do that, and I'll come back. So I went through, I marked all the 1 through 10s blue, I marked all the 11 through 20s yellow, and so on, and I calculated how many of each, and I got something that I think is right because it adds up to 50, which is the total, right? And then here I'm just going to put the titles of the data. So here it's number of times on train. And then here's the frequency. Okay, and then so we're going to write this out here too. We're going to put number of times on train. And then here we're just going to have the frequency. Okay? And we're going to mark the x-axis. And remember, when we mark the x-axis, we actually mark the borders. So, like, this first border is going to be 0, 0.5 because our left border it's going to be for the range 1 to 10, right? And then the next region is going to be 11 through 20. So here we're going to put 0.5, and here we're going to put 10.5 because 10.5 is halfway between 10 and 11. Then we put 20.5, 30.5, 40.5, 50.5, 60.5, and 70.5, and 80.5. And then we go back here, and then we notice that, why do we put 0.5 here? Well, it's just to maintain the size of each one of these. Each one of these intervals is 10 wide, so to maintain the size of 10, we put 0.5 there. Okay? And then for the frequencies, we'll just put the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? And then we're just going to mark each one of the histogram bars. So, like the first bar is going to be 9, right? And that's here. The next bar is going to be 11. It's going to be 9 also. Of course, you don't need to mark these colored. I'm just doing it to show you which one corresponds to what. And then 6, 3, and you might have chosen a different interval size. You might have chosen an interval size of 8 or something, and that's okay. 6, 5, and 5. Okay, and so you know what this really is going to look like on your test. For example, is you're gonna draw the outline of these bars as rectangles, kind of like that. Okay, with a ruler, preferably, and make sure you have titles like that, and make sure that your x-axis is labeled on the lines and not in between the lines. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is very similar, except it says Yudi decided to count the number of weeds in 1 square meter of grass. He chose 80 plots of 1 square meter. The results of each square meter are as follows. And we might be able to do a similar division here. Let's see what the biggest number and the smallest number are. Looks like the smallest number might be like 5. Don't know if there's anything smaller than that. And the biggest number that I see is about 74. Anybody see one bigger than that? Okay, so we could do the same thing just to be, you know, I think it's easier to divide by 10 if you have a bunch of data like this. You wouldn't divide by 10s if you had like a range from like 1 through 20. Then, of course, 10s would be ridiculous. But if you have a wide range of numbers like this between about 0 and 80, then 10 seems like it would be a good number. Okay, so we're going to make a similar frequency table to the one we just did above. Okay, so we're going to have the numbers like 1 less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 10, 11, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then here we're going to have 21, 31, 41, 51, 61, 71, and in here we can put x is less than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay? And this would be number of weeds, and this would be frequency, and then we just need to count up like we did before. So I'm going to do that, but you don't have to watch me do it. Okay, so I counted up all these numbers and grouped them from 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, 31 through 40, 41 through 50, 51 through 60, 61 through 70, 71 through 80. So I counted them up here. I color-coded them, you can see. So between 1 and 10, I found 10 numbers. 10. Between 11 through 20, we have 21. Between 21 through 30, we have 14. Between 31 and 40, we have 12. Between 41 and 50, we have 10. Between 51 and 60, we have 7. Between 61 and 70, we have 3. And between 71 through 80, we have 3. Okay? And these total up to 80, so I'm pretty sure the count is okay. Now I'm going to put these on a frequency table here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the x-axis. And the way I mark the x-axis is with upper and lower boundaries that are the same. For example, the 1 through 10 mark, between 1 through 10, the midpoint between the upper boundary of 1 through 10 and the lower boundary 11 through 20 would be 10.5. 10.5 would be in the middle of 10 and 11. So we would use 10.5 as the marker between those two. Okay? And then between the next two, we would use 20.5. And then we would use 30.5 and 40.5 and 50.5 and 60.5 and 70.5, and last of all 80.5. And then for the initial marker we would use, do you see how the widths of all these are 10 and 10 and 10? So the width between the first marker and the second marker should also be 10, so the first marker should be 0.5. And then of course the frequencies start at 0, and then looks like the highest frequency is 21, and I don't think 21 is going to fit there, so we're going to count by 2s. So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. And then we're going to mark each one of these levels. So the first one is 10, second one is 21, third one is 14, next one is 12, then 10, then 7, then 3, and 3. Okay. And then we're just going to mark all these. And there we have it. There is our